I teased her about missing an earlier train to take to our hotel, and the fireworks immediately began. Sarcasm definitely isn't part of the Vietnamese culture. She was ready to sleep on the streets. She disappeared on me. I didn't have a SIM card, so no idea where I was and no money on me. She basically stranded me, but I luckily figured out where our hotel was and I had her luggage. A couple of hours later, she messaged me and met me at the hotel to pick up her luggage. I apologized through gritted teeth. Because the trip was planned around her, we worked through it, did some aerobics and started the vacation from hell the next day. I will need to visit Japan again to get a proper experience. I was fighting jet lag, the girl and public transit, the whole 6 days we were there. I was so frustrated with her attitude, as she was with me, that I didn't even want aerobics with her after the first night, even though aerobics with her was fun and probably would have been the only highlight of the trip. Anyway, at the airport when we were leaving, it was a smile and good luck. Nothing else needed to be said. We simply went our separate ways. I went to Bangkok to check out the progress of a condo development where I bought a condo, and also changed up the rest of my trip. I still went to Saigon for a few days after a quick trip to Singapore, since I had the flights booked and I didn't want to lose any more money. After a few days alone brooding in my hotel in Sukhumvit, where I was also got my first ever forced happy ending massage, in brackets, but I must say an experience all men should have. I booked 4 days in Singapore to visit for the first time. I scheduled to meet 3 girls for dates while there. One I truly liked, a well-educated Taiwanese girl working and living in SG for the past 7 years. She met me at the airport and we spent the first 3 days of the 4 days I was there together. We held hands, kissed, laughed and talked a lot. We enjoyed our time together immensely, but there were no aerobics because even though there was a tension between us, she didn't like our age gap. I am white, so her parents would have frowned on it, and the long distance with no plans to live in SG was the biggest issue. She isn't about to leave her job for an old white boy from across the ocean, is basically what she was saying. We have remained friends to this day. The second girl, a Filipina helper I was supposed to meet, was planned as a more of a hookup with potential for more, but because I was enjoying my time with my Taiwanese buddy, I decided to pass. She was disappointed, but appreciated my honesty. She's a real sweetheart. She has gone back to the Philippines since then. A true sweetheart like most Filipinas I've ever spoken to, which leads me on to the third girl I met. On my last day before leaving Singapore to go to Saigon, I met another Filipino helper I had scheduled to potentially meet. I only met her when the Taiwanese girl and I, on my second to last night in Singapore, had the discussion that we are better off as friends. On the afternoon of my last day, I met a very spirited Filipina, let's call her Spirit, who has definitely found a place in my heart. We met as she was walking her employer's dogs in a beautiful park. We spent quality time chatting and exercising, and then she invited me to the condo gym where we worked out together. After a good workout and a kiss, I left and then explored another part of the park before heading back to my hotel where there were some jerk monkeys. Watch out for those monkeys. I ended up getting slightly turned around and set off an alarm at a water filtration park I wasn't supposed to cross. I thought I was going to get arrested, but they were nice and got me back on the path. Spirit actually messaged me asking where I was, and I told her the situation. She immediately came to find me, brought me water, made me a sandwich and sent me on my way again. I mean, she was perfect. The next morning, the morning of my flight out of SG, we met again. Her employer hadn't left at the time they were supposed to, so she was late meeting me at the MRT stop. It didn't give us much time before I had to catch my flight. She told me to follow her, so I did. She snuck me to her room where we had some quick aerobics for our one and only time before sending me off again. I then met my Taiwanese buddy at the airport for a final hug goodbye before going to Saigon for my third and last time in the foreseeable future. While in Saigon, I spent some more time mostly alone, but I did get a second happy ending massage and enjoyed it way too much. So that was my last. I can see it leading down a rabbit hole. I fully appreciate the appeal for fun like that now. I also saw my first girlfriend once at a bar on Paseo Street she was working at to say hello. This happened to be my first experience at a bar with the bar girls. I was very uncomfortable with the atmosphere. I brought her a couple of ladies' drinks as she explained to me how she made money, ordered out some food for us, and then politely made my escape from the loud music when the night was just starting out. I couldn't believe the job she does. She arrives at 7 p.m, leaves anywhere between 3 and 6 a.m, depending on the night's clientele, drinks all night, fools around all night with different guys, loud music, smoky, 7 days a week on a 6-month contract at a time. And who knows about her after-hour activities after the bar? I didn't ask about that because I didn't want to know or make her feel uncomfortable with those types of questions. When I was there, I saw my first glimpse of a guy in his 60s. I'm guessing fooling around with two early 20 beauties at the same time, kissing one and then the other and then grabbing them everywhere. So you use your imagination. One of the girls is a good friend of my ex, and she looked straight in my eyes as I watched her while she was making out with the guy. I turned quickly, but I felt her eyes on me, as I'm sure she felt my judgment and empathy. I left soon after that. It's a way to make money and they need the money, but it's just too crazy for me. I knew my limits. Throughout my week in Saigon, I spent most of my time video chatting with Spirit. We got along very well, but reality set in for me. She was under contract until May 2024 and told me she was going to sign again, but her employer was about to give birth and wanted her. They also promised Spirit they would be travelling to Bali in England throughout the year and that they will be taking her along. She wanted to keep a long distance relationship until she was free, but I wasn't willing to wait that long. I decided to end things when I left Saigon to go visit Chiang Mai for my first time to meet a woman I had chatted with online when I first went on Tinder and kept in touch with her. With 6 days left on my vacation, it was time to meet a woman who I knew was very serious about getting into a relationship. Closer to my age, wealthy, independent, no children and very feminine. We'll call her Honey. I got a hotel, but half the time I slept at her house just outside the city. She treated me like a king. I mean, guys, this is the kind of woman that a good man deserves. But I'm not a good man because I just couldn't fall in love with her for one reason. She is a beautiful woman, sexy body, well kept, smart. For me, when I see a woman who has had obvious plastic surgery, it doesn't attract me. However, everything else about her was screaming at me to commit. After a wonderful 9 days exploring Chiang Mai with a sexy personal tour guide who satisfied my needs and checked most of my boxes, it was time to fly back to Bangkok for my final days before heading home. We said our goodbyes and I promised to be back to see her even though I didn't have a physical attraction for her. While in Bangkok, I met up with Flower quickly where we enjoyed dinner together but parted ways angrily. We definitely have fire for one another and always have. I hope we can both tone that fire down though. Still, a work in progress. Anyway, because Flower and I were still on the outs, I planned my next visit to January and February 2024 around spending time with Honey. I arrived in Bangkok early January 2024 and I spent the first week alone exploring the usual sights and enjoying the food. I got an Airbnb in the Pararam area, but it was a bit uncomfortable because I had to sneak in and out since short-term stays aren't allowed at the condo development where I stayed. A lovely condo, pool and amenities, but I checked out early and got a refund because I didn't want any problems. Honey then met me at a hotel in Chinatown area. We spent 2 weeks there. The hotel was a bit run down, definitely not a 4-star as advertised, but we made the best of it. First time getting on those river taxis, my personal highlight, and what a great way to get around Bangkok. Cheapest way as well from what I've found. Always something new to discover in Bangkok. Every time I go, from a huge night market out of nowhere to a supersized mall to an old Buddhist temple to restaurants and everything else Bangkok has to offer. I love it. During this stay, Honey and I got to know one another better. A very sweet person and wanting a simple life with a man to love who loves her back. I found communicating with her difficult because she never initiated conversation and seemed always worried about saying something wrong. And I had a hard time looking past the plastic Barbie ladyboy look that seems to have become a beauty standard here. It boggles my mind why this is. Aerobics was okay, but it was seldom and I forced myself. Still, I committed to spending time with her and we had a week's stay in Koh Lipe planned as well. Our stay in Koh Lipe wasn't memorable. I hate to say it, I was disappointed. The hotel was nice, but there was broken glass all over the beach, roaming packs of stray dogs, little to do, not much choice in food, and very touristy. Everything felt like a tourist trap, and we were just simply not compatible in all ways. Our trip back to the mainland by speedboat was the highlight. The waves were up, lots moaning, groaning, and green faces. I thought the boat was going to break apart at any moment. Fun experience though. Honey went to Chiang Mai, I went to Bangkok. The plan was for me, after a few days in Bangkok and then Singapore for 3 days as a visa run, to join her for all of February in Chiang Mai. But obviously that wasn't going to happen, and I thought she knew this when we parted ways at the airport. When I was in Bangkok, after a hard discussion with Honey that she didn't accept, I again reached out to Flower. We met for dinner and spoke amicably for the first time in a while. It went so well that we spent the few days I was there getting to know one another again. It was like we were dating for the first time. I respected her for this. No aerobics, which I think made me realise that I like how difficult she is. It's a good thing not being easy and respecting someone's values and morals. We had to part ways for me to do my visa run. While in Singapore, I finally had lunch with a Filipino girl. I didn't meet the first time there. Purely as friends, it was the least I could do for not seeing her the first time. She had a boyfriend and I had Flower, so it was understand no boundaries could be crossed. I don't know what it is about those Filipinos, but my God, they are all so sweet. I also quickly saw the Filipino help her to drop off something personal she gave me and wanted returned. There were some tears, but we left each other somewhat amicably. My Taiwanese friend was in Taiwan when I visited, but that's fine because I did spend a couple of days with another friend I met online when I first started Tinder 2 years previous. We always kept in touch, but sporadically, basically a love-hate friendship. The first time I was in Singapore, she was in Egypt or God knows where. She's always travelling somewhere. A feisty over 50-year-old Singaporean who retired early. Another stunner. Would never guess her age. Anyway, it was great meeting her as well. Tinder was great for me and I met a lot of wonderful women the past couple of years. I will admit there is tension with the Singaporean woman, but she's really angry at me for not choosing her. Partly because of this, we would never work out. I avoided aerobics to not complicate matters with Flower.